Magic Button Box by Charlotte Levine Silverstein. Nana, Zach yelled, flinging open the kitchen door. I need a new button. No need to shout. Nana looked up from her newspaper. Why do you need a new button? This morning I lost a button right here. Zach pointed to the top of his coat. All day I've been so cold. Well, we can't have that. I'll get my magic button box, Nana said. She headed for her bedroom and returned with an enormous tin box. Where did you get that? Zach asked. I've been collecting these buttons since I was a little girl, Nana said, lifting the old box to the table. Then she tapped the lid as if she were knocking on a door. Inside this box, Zach, is not just a button collection. Inside are thousands of stories and millions of memories. But what makes it magic? Zach asked. You'll see, Nana said with a grin. Then she opened the box and poured a waterfall of a zillion buttons onto the table. There were large, round, silver ones, and soft, football-shaped brown ones, and black ones with diamonds, and gold ones decorated with black thread. Some looked like beetles, others like shells. Zach wanted to examine each and every button. Where'd this one come from, Nana? Zach picked up a big, old, square leather button. That one came from the coat your grandfather wore when he was courting me, Nana smiled. He was so tall and handsome. I remember him wearing that coat the first time we went ice skating. Grandpa must have heard Nana talking about him because he came into the kitchen to see what she and Zach were doing. I see you've brought out the magic button box, he said. Yes, Zach answered, but Nana still hasn't told me what's magic about it. Haven't you figured it out yet? Zach shook his head and frowned. The three sat at the kitchen table for a long time, making the buttons dance between their fingers, while Nana and Grandpa told Zach stories. It was nearly dark when Zach's mom came home from work to find them hovering over their treasure. Nana jumped up surprised. I had no idea it was this late. I haven't even started dinner, she said. What are you doing? Mom asked. Oh, you've brought out the magic button box. Let me see. She sat down without even taking off her coat. Then she ran her fingers across the table. I remember this one. She picked up a brass button with an anchor engraved on it. This came from a sailor suit I had when I was 10. I wore it the first time you took me to the ocean, she said to Nana and Grandpa. She closed her eyes and smelled it, remembering the salty sea air. Nana found a tiny white silk button. Look, Catherine, this was on the infant suit Zach wore when you brought him home from the hospital. Oh, he was so tiny and cuddly, remember? I remember, Mom said. You mean that button was mine? Zach asked. He picked it up for a closer look. I didn't know any of my buttons were in here. Of course they are. You're part of this family, aren't you? Grandpa said. Isn't this from the tiger costume you wore last Halloween? Grandpa picked out a furry orange and black striped button. Wow, let me see that, Zach said. The fur tickled his hand. I was so mad when you gave that costume away, I thought I'd never see it again, but here it is, at least a piece of it. Grandpa nodded. I think you're starting to understand the magic of the button box, aren't you, Zach? Zach grinned. We still need to replace that coat button you lost, Donna said. How about using the button from my old coat, Grandpa suggested. Good idea, Grandpa, Zach said. There's just one problem with that. A memory will be missing from the box. That's okay, Zach. We'll still remember, Nana said. But Zach wasn't satisfied. He thought for a moment. Then he ran to the scissors drawer and snipped off the button from his shirt. What are you doing? Mom asked. I'm replacing a memory, Zach said, tossing the button into the box. And the next time I see that button, it'll remind me of the day I found out the secret of the magic button box. Number 1, Part A. Click on the statement that best provides a conclusion that can be drawn about Nana's feelings toward the buttons. A. Nana is enthusiastic about the buttons. B. Nana feels nostalgic when she takes out the buttons and likes sharing them with her family. C. Nana feels disheartened that Zach lost a button off his coat and she has to give him one from her very special button collection. D. Nana feels that it is unacceptable for Zach to have a missing button on his coat when he had just one this morning. Part B. Click the lines from the passage that best support the conclusion drawn in Part A. Choose one answer. Well, we can't have that. I'll get my magic button box, Nana said. She headed for her bedroom and returned with an enormous tin box. Where did you get that? Zack asked. I've been collecting these buttons since I was a little girl, Nana said, lifting the old box to the table. Then she tapped the lid as if she were knocking on a door. Inside this box, Zack, is not just a button collection. Inside are 1,000 stories and 1,000,000 memories. Number 2. Read the lines. You'll see, Nana said with a grin. Then she opened the box and poured a waterfall of 1,000,000,000 buttons onto the table. There were large, round, silver ones, and soft, football-shaped brown ones, and black ones with diamonds, and gold ones decorated with black thread. Some looked like beetles, and others looked like shells. Zack wanted to examine each and every button. What does the use of the phrase, a waterfall of zillion buttons, show the reader? A. The magic button box transformed the buttons into a waterfall. B. The magic button box reminded Nana and Zack of a time they visited a waterfall. C. The button box magically contains 1,000,000,000 buttons. D. Nana's collection of buttons is very large. Number 3, Part A. Which of these conclusions about Zack's mom is supported by the passage? A. She has seen the magic button box before and is excited to take a look at them. B. She has never seen the magic button box before but is immediately intrigued by it. C. She recalls the magic button box from her childhood, but she isn't particularly fond of those memories. D. She is peeved that Zack still hasn't been fed dinner because it is very late and they need to go home. Part B. Which sentence from the passage best supports your answer in Part A? Select 2 answers. I had no idea it was this late. I haven't even started dinner, she said. What are you doing? Mom asked. Oh, you've brought out the magic button box. Let me see. She sat down without even taking off her coat. Then she ran her fingers across the table. I remember this one. She picked up a brass button with an anchor engraved on it. This came from the sailor suit I had when I was 10. I wore it for the first time when you took me to the ocean, she said to Nana and Grandpa. She closed her eyes and smelled it, remembering the salty sea air. Number 4. What button represents Mom's most treasured memory? A. A tiny white silk button. B. A brass button with an anchor engraved on it. C. A big old square leather button. D. A silver button with an anchor engraved on it. Number 5. What inference can be made about the theme? Use key details from the passage to support and explain your answer.